was pregnant, but it was because I didn't turn the light switch off 3 or 5 times. Because I stepped on that crack. Because I didn't press my lips together a certain way when I read magazines. Sometimes, if I read that magazine a certain wrong way, I'd start to feel morning sickness. When eating a bowl of M&Ms, I would have to have 3 of the same color in a row. 5 was acceptable, 7 was great, but 4 or 6 in a row were not. If I were to have, say, 6 green M&Ms in a row or 4 blue M&Ms in a row, I'd have to grab another one. Otherwise, the feelings of morning sickness would come and I would be doomed. The connections made absolutely no sense, to say the least. And I knew it was totally irrational, but not really. Only 1% of me was keeping me from becoming a total psychotic. The other 99% of me heard, saw, smelled, felt like it was absolutely true. I had to follow through on the compulsions if I was not to face the consequences, whether they were real or imagined. Not only that, but I had to hide the fact that I was doing these compulsions to everyone around me, furthering me into a deeper spiral of hell. This cycle of hiding and going deeper, only made it more difficult for me to get the help that I needed. My father begged and pleaded with me, "How can you see this psychologist and tell them everything about your anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder, but you can't even tell me?" When he would say these things, I could only offer vague cover-ups. Mind you, I was only in 7th grade at the time. I wasn't even holding hands with boys, so it definitely wasn't a possibility. But could you imagine a 15-year-old coming to my dad and saying fears of pregnancy every 5 minutes? He would have lost his mind. He would have gone crazy, and then I'd have to be dealing with 2 anxious people. I never shared my anxiety with any of my friends, not even the closest ones. This was mostly because it was so exhausting trying to explain something so inexplicable to those that I knew would not be able to understand. The few times that I did reveal to friends about my anxiety, it turned into a circle of going around and talking about their panic attacks of the week as well, like the time my friend's ice cream scoop fell from the cone and onto the sidewalk. These situations just made me feel even more misunderstood and ashamed that I was completely alone in my thoughts. Several years, therapists, medications later, I was working with one therapist in particular who really explained to me what was going on in my body. He explained to me what was the OCD thought process, how did it work, what chemicals were involved in an anxiety disorder. No one had ever done that before, and it really changed my life. From then on, when I was in my anxious situations, I was more easily able to say, "Oh, I'm having a stomach ache, but maybe it's actually not because I'm pregnant, and maybe it's because it's been 6 hours since I've had breakfast and I'm hungry," or whatever it was. The point was, the more I understood about my anxiety disorder, the easier it was for me to recognize when I was jumping to the worst case scenario. By the time I was 4 years into suffering from anxiety, I had already dealt with 2 years of a pretty public and embarrassing panic disorder, followed by another 2 years of a more difficult internal struggle with OCD. I found myself attending a summer camp over 200 miles away. There, I knew my anxiety would be exasperated throughout the week, and once there, I decided I was really frustrated with my helplessness. So I decided to Google teen anxiety and a variety of other keywords related to that search. I was astounded to see that there wasn't anything out there. The only things that came up were very medical. What is anxiety? But nothing that could really help me. Nothing that was like the community I was looking for, or the refuge that I could retreat to when I needed it, where I needed it. So that's when I decided to take out my notebook and start designing anxietyinteens.com. Anxiety in Teens, a place for youth with mental health disorders and their families to find information, inspiration, and community. I do that in a number of ways. I really wanted, with the information piece, to recreate what that conversation was like with that one therapist, to spread to other people who come to the site more understanding about what's going on in their bodies. Inspiration, whether that be through the panic tips, if you need breathing exercises right now, it's really what helps you wherever you are, whenever you need it. Lastly, community. We foster that through the community forum. One of my favorite parts of the website is, whether they be direct emails to myself or posts on the forum, is hearing real stories from people who are going to the site and saying, I've never told anybody about my anxiety before, and now here they are, pouring their whole story. So everyone in the audience right now, look to the two people on your right and look to the two people on your left. This looks really cool. Over 1 in 5 of you will suffer from a severe anxiety disorder in your lifetime. So what can you do if somebody enters your life with anxiety? Be a champion for them. Parents, sometimes that means sending your child to somebody else that can help more, like in my case. Friends, let them know that you are there. This isn't your opportunity to tell the other person that they're being completely irrational. They know. Rather, it's your chance to hear that person's pain. Lastly, those of you who are suffering from anxiety, I want to tell you something. I know you feel like you're completely unique in your experience right now, but you're not the first person to think these thoughts, and you're certainly not alone. So I'll leave you with one last thing. Pledge today, right now, to make a healthier lifestyle in all areas of your life. When your body is exercised, when your relationships are right, when your nutrition's right, you're on track to getting your mental health right.